The Garden of Eros by Oscar Wilde. It is full summer now, the heart of June. Not yet the sunburned reapers are astir upon the upland meadow, where too soon rich autumn time, the season's usurer, will lend his hoarded gold to all the trees, and see his treasure scattered by the wild and spendthrift breeze. Too soon indeed, yet here the daffodil, that love-child of a spring, has lingered on to vex the rose with jealousy, and still the harebell spreads her azure pavilion, and like a strayed and wandering reveller, abandoned of its brothers, whom long since June's messenger, the missel thrush has frighted from the glade, one pale Narcissus loiters fearfully close to a shadowy nook, where half afraid of their own loveliness some violets lie that will not look the gold sun in the face, for fear of too much splendour. Methinks it is a place which should be trodden by furthron than wearied of the flowerless fields of this, or danced on by the lads of Arcady. The hidden secret of eternal bliss, known to the Grecian, here man might find. You and I may find it now if love and sleep be kind. They are the flowers which mourning Heracles strewed on the tomb of Hylas, Columbine, its white doves all aflutter where the breeze kissed them too harshly, the small celandine, that yellow-kirtled Christa of Eve, and lilac lady's smock. But let them bloom alone and leave yon spired hollyhook red crooketed to sway its silent shims, else must the bee, its little bell-ringer, go seek instead some other pleasance, the anemone that weeps at daybreak like a silly girl before her love, and hardly lets the butterflies unfurl their painted wings beside it, bid it pine and veil virginity. The winter's snow will suit it better than those lips of vine, whose fires but scorch it. Rather go and pluck the amorous flower which blooms alone, fed by the tender wind with dust of kisses not its own. The trumpet mouths of red convolvulus, so dear to maidens, creamy meadow sweet, thither than Juno's throat and odorous as all Arabia, who ascends the feet of huntress Dian, would be loth to mar for any dappled fawn. Pluck these, and those fond flowers which are fairer than what Queen Venus trod upon beneath the pines of Ida, Eucharis, that morning star which does not dread the sun, and budding Megerim, which but to kiss would sweeten Zephyrus' lips and make Adonis jealous. These for thy head, and for thy girdle take yon curving spray of purple clematis, whose gorgeous dye flames the tyrant king, and foxgloves with their nodding chalices, but that one Narcissus which the startled spring let from her kirtle fall when first she heard in her own woods the wild temptress song of summer's bird. Leave it for subtle memory of those sweet tremulous days of rain and sun, when April laughed between her tears to see the early primrose with shy footsteps run from the gnarled oak tree roots, till all the wold, spite of its brown and trembled leaves, grew bright with shimmering gold. Aye, pluck too, it is not half so sweet as thou thyself, my sweet idolatry, and when thou art buried at thy feet, shall ox-lips weave their brightest tapestry. For thee the woodbine shall forget its pride, and veil its tangled walls, and thou shalt walk on daisies by. And I will cut the reed by yonder spring, and make the wood gods jealous, and out Pan wonder what young intruder dares to sing in these still haunts, whenever foot of man should treat at evening, lest he chance to spy the marble limbs of Artemis and all her company. And I will tell thee why the jackals wore such dread embroidery of dolorous moan, and why the harpless nightingale forbears to sing a song at noon, but weeps alone when the fleet swallow sleeps and rich men feast, and why the laurel trembles when she sees the lightning east. And I will sing how sad Proserpina unto a grave and gloomy lord was wed, and lure the silver-breasted Helena back from the lotus meadows of the dead. So shalt thou see that awful loveliness the which two mighty hosts met fearfully in war's abyss, and then I'll pipe to thee that Grecian tale how Cynthia loves Valette and Endymion, and hidden in a grey and misty veil, heaves to the cliffs of Latmos once the sun leaps from his ocean bed in fruitless chase of those pale fleeting feet which fade away in his embrace. And if, My flute can breathe sweet melody. We may behold her face so long ago dwelt among men by the Aegean sea, and whose sad house with pillaged portico and friezless wall and columns toppled down looms o'er the ruins of that fair and violet-cindered town. Spirit of beauty, tarry still awhile. They are not dead, thine ancient votaries. Some few there are to whom thy radiant smile is better than 1,000 victories. For all the noble slain of Waterloo rise up in wrath against them, tarry still. There are a few who for thy sake would give their manlyhood and consecrate their being. I at least have done so, made thy lips my daily food, and in thy temples found a goodlier feast than this starved age can give me, spite of all its new-found creeds so sceptical and so dogmatic. Here not Cephissus, not Ilissus flows, the woods of white Colonus are not here, and o'er bleak hills the olive never blows. No simple priest conducts his lowing stir up the steep marble way, nor through the town do laughing maidens spear to thee the crocus-flowered gown. Yet tarry, for the boy who loved thee best, whose very name should be a memory to make thee linger, sleeps in silent rest beneath the Roman walls, and melody still mourns the sweetest lyre. None can play the lute of Adonis with his lips, song passed away. Nay, when Keats died, the muses still had left one silver voice to sing his Threnody. But too soon of it we were bereft, when on that riven night and stormy sea, Panthea claimed the singer as her own, and silver-mouthed praised her. Since that time we walk alone, safe with that fiery heart, that morning star of re-risen England, whose clear eye saw from our tottering throne and waste of war the grand Greek limbs of young democracy rise mightily like Hesperus and bring the great republic. Him at least thy love hath taught to sing, and he hath been with thee at Thessaly, and seen white Atlanta fleet of foot in passionless and fierce virginity, hunting the tusk boar, his honeyed lute half pierced the cavern of a hollow hill. In Venus loves to know one knee will bow before her still. And he half kissed the lips of Proserpine, and sung the Galilean requiem, that wounded forehead dashed with blood and wine he half discrowned. The ancient gods in him have found their last most ardent worshipper, and the new sign grows grey and dim before its conqueror. Spirit of beauty, tarry with us still. It is not quenched to talk of poesy. The starboard shook above the eastern hill holds unassailed its argent armory from all the gathering gloom and fretful fight. O tarry with us still, for through the long and common night, Morris, or sweet and simple Chaucer's chariot, dear heritor of Spenser's tuneful reed, with soft and Sylvian pipe has oft beguiled the soul of man in troublous need. And from the far and froest fields of ice has brought fair flowers, meet to make a lovely paradise. We know them all, Gudrun the strong man's bride, Oslung and Olafson. We know them all, how giant Gatir fought and Sigurd died, and what enchantment held the king in thrall when lonely Brynhild wrestled with the powers at the war against all passion. How through summer hours, long listless summer hours, when the noon being enarmored of a damask rose forgets to journey westward to the moon, the pale usurper of its tribute grows from a thin sickle to a silver shield and chide its lodging car. How oft in some cool grassy field far from the cricket ground noisy ate at Beckley, where the rustling bluebells come almost before the blackbird finds a mate, now where stay the swallow and the hum of many murmuring bees flits through the leaves. Have I lain pouring on the dreamy tales its fancy weaves, and through their unreal woes and mimic pain wept for myself, and so was purified, and in their simple mirth grew glad again. For as I sailed upon that picture tide, the strength and splendor of a storm was mine, though the storm's red ruin of singer is divine. The little laugh of water falling down is not so musical. The clammy gold close hoarded in the tiny waxen tone has less of sweetness in it, and the old half-withered reeds that waved in Arcady, touched by his lips, break forth again to fresher harmony. Spirit of beauty, tarry yet awhile. Although the cheating merchants of a mart with iron rows profane our lovely isle, and break on whirling wheels the limbs of art, aye, tough the crowded factories beget the blind-born ignorance that slays the soul. O tarry yet. For one at least there is, he bears his name from Dante, and the seraph Gabriel. whose double laurels burn with deathless flame to light thine altar. He too loves thee well, who saw old Merlin lured in the Vian's snare, and the white feet of angels coming down the golden stair, loves thee so well that all the world for him a gorgeous-coloured vestige must wear, and so take a purple diadem, or else be no more sorrow, and despair gild its own thorns, and pain, like Adon, be even in anguish beautiful. Such is the empery which painters hold, and such the heritage this gentle solemn spirit doth possess. Being a better mirror of his age in all his pity, love, and weariness, than those who can but copy common things, and leave a soul unpainted with its mighty questionings. But we are few, and all romance has flown, and man can prophesy about the sun, and lecture on his errors, how alone through waste void the soulless atoms run, or from each tree its weeping nymph has fled, and that no more mid English reads a Naiad shows her head. Methinks these new Ectheons boast too soon that they have spied on beauty. What if ye have analyzed the rainbow, loved the moon of her most ancient, just at that mystery shall I, the last Endymion, lose all hope, because the rude eyes peer at my mistress through a telescope? What profit if this scientific age bursts through our gates with all its retinue of modern miracles? Can it assuage one lover's breaking heart? What can it do to make one life more beautiful, one day more godlike in its period? But now the age of clay returns to an hard cycle, and the earth hath born again a noisy progeny of ignorant titans, whose ungodly birth hurts them against the august hierarchy which sat upon Olympus. To the dust they have appealed, and to that barren arbiter they must repair for judgment. Let them live again the natural warfare, and insensate chance create the new ideal rule for man. Methinks it was not my inheritance, for I was nurtured otherwise. My soul passes from higher heights of life to a more supreme goal. Lo, while we spake, the earth did turn away a visage from the god, and Hecate's boat rose silver-laden till the jealous day blew all its torches out. I did not note the waning hours. To young Endymion's times, palsied fingers counted in vain his rosary of suns. Mark how the yellow iris verily leans back its throat, as though it would be kissed by its false chambera, the dragonfly, who, like a blue vein on a girl's white wrist, sleeps on that snowy primrose of a night, which skins to flush with crimson shame and die beneath the light. Come, let us go against the pallid shield of a wan sky. The almond blossoms gleam, the corncrake nested in the unmown field answers its mate across the misty stream. On fitful wing the startled curlews fly, and in his sedgy bed the lark, for joy the day is nigh, scatters the pearl dew from off the grass in tremulous ecstasy to greet the sun, who soon in gilded panoply will pass forth from yon orange-curtained pavilion hung in the burning east. See, where red rim outtops the expectant hills. It is the god, for love of him already the shrill lark is out of sight, flooding with waves of song the silent day. There is something more in that bird's flight, when could be tested in a crucible. But the air freshens, let us go, why soon the woodman will be here. Oh, we have lived this night of June.